Rick, there's certainly a wind chill factor out there, and temperatures are really starting to plummet. We're in the 40s now here at the broadcast center. That may not sound cold, but we're talking cooler temperatures and single-digit temperatures even in some spots as we head into the overnight hours. Breezy to windy out there as well. Getting a look at Long Beach, you'll see the flag blowing in the wind. The Santa Anas are kicking up, and as a result, again, it could feel colder out there. In the wind-protected areas, that's where it's actually going to be coldest. Take a look. We did see a few record lows. This was last night. We could be in for it again. Downtown, 34 degrees. That's the coldest downtown's been in the last 22 years. A little more than that since 1990. Santa Barbara broke a record getting down to 27. Sandburg got down to 15 degrees. So a very cold night for us, and another cold night ahead. 20s, 30s and 40s out there as we speak. 23 in Wrightwood, 27 in Lancaster, 41 in Pasadena. No surprise that we're still dealing with a freeze warning for the interior portions of Ventura County, kicking in overnight, lasting through 9 o'clock tomorrow morning. And that frost advisory also in effect for the San Gabriel Valley and also the San Fernando Valley, kicking in overnight, lasting through 9 o'clock in the morning. Very windy out there as well. We'll have more on the wind, the advisories and the warnings. That's all coming up in just a bit. Sharon, back to you.
Well, there's good news coming our way.
Yeah,
it's
better.
Warm up.
Can I just say first, every so often they'll show parts of this newscast on a late night talk show on national TV, making fun of us, making fun of the cold weather.
It wouldn't be us. They'd never make fun of us.
Try doing the show outside, okay? And then let's see what you think.
In tank tops.
Exactly.
In two tank tops.
It's, I'll tell you what, even if you're from the east, it feels cold out here. I mean, it really does.
I'm thinking about what it's like outside right now because I was just out there and literally the hair is on my arm.
It was, it's been cold.
They froze and broke off.
It might not be freezing as an East Coast standards, but it's cold. My friend from New York called me and said, you know what, it's 55 degrees out there. It's not cold.
Yeah.
I'm like, yes, it is with wind chill. It's cold.
Right,
you know,
it's cold.
So.
And you know, it is. I know we made fun of, but let me just justify it for you a little bit. First off, we're looking at single-digit temperatures in some spots in the Southland. So tell me that's not cold. 4 degrees at 50, Anaheim 46, Van Nuys 42, Wrightwood down to 23 in the Apple Valley at 25 degrees. So we've got a freeze warning in effect for the interior portions of Ventura County. We're expecting 20s and 30s. We could potentially see some frost into the morning hours. We've got frost advisories in effect for the San Fernando Valley, for the San Gabriel Valley as well, kicking in overnight, lasting through 9 o'clock tomorrow morning. Windy. It's windy out there. We've got the Santa Anas kicking up, and you'll see right here 12-mile-an-hour winds in Riverside. These are your sustained wind speeds. Santa Clarita at 16. The Apple Valley a little calmer at 5, but we are expecting windier conditions as we head into the overnight hours. Winds peaking overnight and in the morning hours. A high wind warning, in fact, lasting through 2 o'clock in the afternoon for the Santa Anas, also for the Riverside and San Bernardino County mountains as well. So we are looking at very windy conditions. And in the LA County and Ventura County mountains, very windy. We could even see wind gusts up to maybe even 60 miles an hour in some spots. So as we get a look at your wind advisory right here, the brown highlighting, there we go, light brown highlighting on your screen, indicating that wind advisory that's going to stay in effect through 3 a.m. So it will be a windy night and a windy morning. Temperature-wise, though, we've been talking about the cold numbers, and here they are. This is exactly how cold it's going to get tonight. Downtown, 40 degrees. You actually broke a record last night. You got down to 34. That's the coldest it's been in 20-plus years, and again, it was a record. Long Beach, 35. Anaheim, 38. Newport Beach, 40 tonight. 32, right at freezing. Simi Valley tonight. Big Bear, 5 degrees. Lancaster, 8 degrees. Tell me that's not cold. 21 in Hesperia. And on average, temperatures are about 8 degrees below average for your lows, and freeze warnings and frost advisories, again, still out there overnight into the morning hours. For the valleys in the Inland Empire, sunshine across the board, 60s turning to 70s. That's something we haven't said in a while. And for the Basin Orange County, 60s and 70s through the weekend. Rick and Sharon, back to you.
Evelyn, thank you.
Right, Evelyn?
We're expecting a warm up on the horizon, but until then, we still have to bear with the colder temperatures and the windy conditions. The feel like temperature is actually a little colder with that wind out there, but the wind protected areas are actually the spots that are the coldest tonight. We did see some record lows over the last 24 hours. Technically, these are your unofficial lows. If we get colder than this by midnight, then it will be different, but the likelihood of us getting to any of these numbers by then is low. So most likely the numbers will stay like this. These are your record numbers for downtown: 34 degrees, Santa Barbara 27 degrees, and Sandburg 15 degrees. So that was your overnight low. We broke records in all of these cities, and perhaps we could do it again tonight. So we're going to show you exactly how cold it's going to get tonight. You'll see currently temperatures are in the 20s, 30s, and 40s. 42 Pasadena, 23 in Wrightwood, 25 in the Apple, 36 San Bernardino, and 39 in Riverside. There is a freeze warning out there for the interior portions of Ventura County. That kicks in overnight, lasts through 9 a.m. and we also have several frost advisories out there as well, kicking in overnight, lasting through the morning hours for the San Gabriel Valley and the San Fernando Valley. And yes, it's windy out there as well. You'll see windier conditions. The warmer colors on your screen, the yellow right there indicating the windiest spots over the mountains. Riverside, you're at 11 miles an hour. Santa Clarita at 16 miles an hour, and a high wind warning in effect for most of our local mountains tonight, lasting through 2 o'clock tomorrow afternoon. We could even see wind gusts upwards of 60 miles an hour. So in the windiest spots, the Cajon Pass, possibly getting even close to 70 miles an hour in the way of isolated wind gusts. We do have wind advisories as well for the metro area. Along the coast, we're looking at windy conditions into the Santa Clarita Valley as well. We're expecting windy conditions. What does this mean? 20 to 30 mile an hour sustained wind speeds with wind gusts up to 40 miles an hour in spots like Long Beach, downtown Oxnard, and Torrance. We'll have more on the wind, the cold temperatures, and when it's finally going to warm up. That's coming up. Rick, back to you.
All right. Miserable.
Thanks, miserable on the inside, beautiful on the outside. But yes, it is that cold and it is that windy. Suzanne showed us exactly how windy it is. We're going to have some numbers for you. We're going to show you how cold it's going to get tonight as well. 46 so far right here at the Broadcast Center in Studio City. As we take you outside right now to our Sierra camera, it is clear, it is cold, and yes, it's windy as well. We've got freeze warnings in effect through the morning hours, kicking in overnight, lasting through 9 a.m. for the interior portions of Ventura County. Frost advisories for parts of the San Gabriel Valley and the San Fernando Valley as well. And now a wind chill advisory coming down. This is something we haven't talked about at all. Actually, recently we've been talking about freeze warnings and hard freezes and frost advisories, but we do have a wind chill advisory. What does this mean? The wind makes the feel-like temperature a lot colder. So we've got cold conditions and very windy conditions to the IE, the Riverside County Mountains, San Bernardino County Mountains, and as a result, it's going to feel a lot colder there. In fact, this wind chill advisory telling us it's going to feel 10 to 20 degrees colder than it actually is. So we could see temperatures get down to 0. So it's really that cold out there tonight. 23 in Wrightwood right now, 42 in Pasadena, 44 in downtown, 41 in Van Nuys, 35 in Valencia. Not only is it cold, as we mentioned, it is windy out there. Let's get a look at current wind speeds. Things in Santa Clarita picking up at about 16 miles an hour. Those northerly winds coming in. The Apple Valley a little calmer at 5, Riverside at 11, Highland at 11 miles an hour as well. So we've got high wind warnings for the mountains lasting through 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Winds peaking overnight into the morning hours. We could even see up to 60-mile-an-hour wind gusts in the higher elevations. We've got a wind advisory. In fact, several of them for spots like the Santa Clarita Valley. For the coast and the basin as well, we're looking at very windy conditions. What does this mean by very windy? 20 to 40 mile an hour sustained winds with potential wind gusts up to 40 miles an hour. Back to those cold temperatures. This is how cold it's going to get tonight. 35 in Long Beach, 35 in Oxnard, 38 in Anaheim, and 40 in Newport Beach. If that's not cold enough for you, 32 in Simi Valley, right at freezing. Big Bear at 5 degrees. And remember, there is a wind chill factor out there, so it could feel even colder, believe it or not. Lancaster 8 degrees and Hesperia at 21. So generally temperatures are about 8 degrees below where they should be, even more so in some spots. And remember, we've got freeze warnings and frost advisories out there as well. But a much warmer forecast a little later in the week with plenty of sunshine, and we're back to the 70s. That's something we haven't heard about in a while. Sharon, back to you. We're going to go pretty low, and we do have a wind chill factor as well, so it's going to feel a lot colder in a lot of spots. 23 degrees in Wrightwood, 26 in Lancaster, 41 in Pasadena, 44 right now in downtown, and of course only getting colder over the next few hours. We've got a freeze warning in effect for the interior portions of Ventura County lasting to the overnight hours through 9 o'clock tomorrow morning. Then we've got a frost advisory kicking in lasting through the morning hours for the San Gabriel Valley, also for the San Fernando Valley. And finally, checking in with this next advisory that just came down not too long ago. It's a wind chill advisory. It's something we don't see as often. We actually have very cold temperatures, and we've got very windy conditions, and this could produce a wind chill factor between 10 and 20 degrees, meaning it could feel 10 or 20 degrees colder than it actually is. And I will tell you, numbers in the mountains tonight getting down to the single digits, so it's going to feel very cold up there. Currently, wind speeds look a little like this: 15 miles an hour for Santa Clarita, 5 for the Apple Valley. As we head over to Santa Monica, 11 miles an hour there. These are your sustained wind speeds, and wind gusts are higher than this. We're expecting even windier conditions, though, as we head into the overnight and the morning hours. That's when winds are scheduled to peak. So much so that we could possibly see wind gusts above 60 miles an hour in the mountains. We've got high wind warnings in place in most of our mountain areas, and you're going to see a wind advisory also staying in place through noon tomorrow for spots like Burbank, Glendale, Simi Valley, Thousand Oaks, so parts of Ventura County, the San Gabriel Valley, and the San Fernando Valley, along with the coast, all affected by this wind advisory. Forecast lows tonight, very low: 35 in Oxnard, 38 in Anaheim, 30 in Northridge, 31 in Riverside. As we head to Big Bear, 5 degrees, and it could feel even colder with that wind chill factor. Lancaster, 8 degrees, in Hesperia, 21 degrees. Generally, temperatures are 8 degrees below where they should be for this time of year tonight, but even colder in some spots. Remember, we've got freeze warnings, frost advisories, and wind chill advisories out there. We're going to have more on that, and of course, we're going to tell you when it's finally slated to warm up. That's all coming up in just a bit. Lena and Sylvia, back to you.
All right.
70 degrees is going to seem so hot. That's usually just what we call mild, but that's what we've got ahead in our forecast. So we'll show you when coming up in a minute. But first, we're taking you outside to Long Beach, where it's cold and it's breezy, and we are looking at windy conditions all across the Southland, mixed in with very cold conditions. So we're jumping ahead to your advisories. We've got windy conditions out there and warnings as well. We've got a high wind warning in effect through 2 o'clock tomorrow afternoon. Winds peaking into the overnight hours and morning hours, and this is for our local mountains. We've also got a wind advisory in effect for the majority of the metro area and the Santa Clarita Valley right there. Parts of Ventura County also affected. Expecting sustained winds between 20 and 40 miles an hour with gusts around there. Currently, temperatures are in the 20s, 30s, 40s, so it's pretty chilly. 23 in Wrightwood, 36 San Bernardino, 39 in Riverside, and it feels even colder with the wind. It's technically colder when we don't have any wind, but it feels colder. That's what the wind chill factor is when the wind comes in. So we actually have a wind chill advisory. We'll show you that in a minute. We've got freeze warnings in effect all up and down the south coast, but right there into the interior portions of Ventura County, that's where we're looking at that freeze warning in our local area. Frost advisories in effect for spots like Burbank, Glendale, Simi Valley, Thousand Oaks, so for the San Gabriel Valley, also for spots in the Ventura County and the interior portions there, and also, again, the San Gabriel Valley. We've got a wind chill not wind chill factor, but we have a wind chill advisory, which is a wind chill factor, good 10 to 20 degrees, so it could feel up to 20 degrees colder than it actually is with that wind kicking in through some of our mountains. You'll see freeze warnings, as we mentioned, frost advisories, wind advisories and warnings, just to recap, and we do have some warming ahead. So we will get there in a minute. We'll show you how warm we got earlier today, or how cold rather. 57, and for us that is cold because average is 68. Here's where it got impressive. We got down to 34 degrees. The unofficial low for last night was 34, and that's the coldest we've been in over 20 years in downtown. And again, it's a record for the day. You're going to see 36 degrees. That was the record to break, and we broke it by a couple degrees. We'll have more on what we can expect overnight and when that warm-up's finally going to hit. It's all coming up in just a bit. Back to you.
All right, thanks, Ev.
And cold and windy conditions out there. We'll break it all down for you coming right up.
Pond. Wow. Imagine.
No, but it's also impressive that he was riding his bike to work in Minnesota when it was like that out there.
Did you used to do that?
No.
No.
I lived there, but I never rode the bike in the winter. It's hard just to walk outside right here right now.
I know.
It's so cold.
It's so true. I don't think any of us rode our bikes to work today.
Oh my, we can't even walk into your car right now.
No, it's tough. It's really tough. I know we're whips and everyone makes fun of us, but it really is that cold.
It is.
It's freezing cold.
Yeah, record-breaking.
Yes, record-breaking cold. So we're cold here in Southern California. We're trying to justify it. It's 45 right now, actually 44 right here at the Broadcast Center in Studio City. But we're one of the warmer spots. There's some spots getting down to the single digits tonight, spots in the Antelope Valley. Up in the mountains, we're looking at single digit temperatures, teens, 20s, a few 30s, and again 40s if you're lucky. So we're going to break down all those numbers. A factor. We actually have a wind chill advisory in effect for the mountains. Along with that, we've got freeze warnings, frost advisories, wind advisories, and warnings rather, not to be confused with warming, because there is some warming in the forecast, and we'll show you when in your 5-day forecast in just a minute. Earlier today, we made it to 57 in downtown, so we were below average, and 34, that was the unofficial. It's still preliminary, but looks like it will stand. Be 34 degrees. That was the record low. The record to beat on this day was 36 degrees. That was set back in 2007. We beat it by a couple degrees, and it actually hasn't been this cold as 34 degrees for a good 20 plus years in downtown. So pretty impressive. 40 in downtown tonight. So a little warmer there, but other spots a little cooler tonight. Oxnard 35, 38 in Anaheim, 40 in Newport Beach. As we head over to Simi Valley, 32 degrees, 31 in Riverside, 5 degrees in Big Bear, 8 in Lancaster, 21 in Hesperia, and generally temperatures are about 8 degrees below where they should be, even colder in some spots. Remember, we've got freeze warnings, frost advisories, and that wind chill advisory, essentially just keeping temperatures colder, feeling colder than they actually are. Deserts in the 40s, 50s, getting up to the 60s with single digits and 20s for the rest of the week, and finally checking in with the mountains, 30s and 40s, single digit temperatures, teens and 20s by the weekend. Back to you. Break, I'll tell you when, coming up in just a minute. But bear with me. We're going to take you outside where it's still cold. It's still windy out there as well. You're going to see the flag blowing in the wind right behind the Ferris wheel in Santa Monica. Chilly at the beach right there. Let's take a look at current temperatures, and you're going to see how low it's going to get tonight as well. Valencia at the College of the Canyons right there, 38 degrees, getting down to 29 tonight. Checking in with Hillcrest Elementary School in Monterey Park. We're currently at 40 degrees, getting down to 34 later tonight. And the Reagan Library in Simi Valley, 41 degrees, getting down to 33, just above freezing a little later. And Mesa View Middle School in Huntington Beach, 44 right now. We're expecting to get down to 40. So again, your KCAL9 Weather Network showing you very cold conditions, expecting even colder conditions. We'll show you where and again when that warm-up's expected. That's all coming up. Sharon, back to you. And bracing for another cold night with wind in the forecast as well. We'll have the details coming up. They're on the subway participating.
My pants will be on during the 11 o'clock.
Good. Good. All right, we just wanted to make sure.
So now, much longer we have to deal with the cold weather?
Yeah, that's a great question. I'm going to let you know in just a minute. Not too much longer. So that's the good thing, but for now it's still cold and it's windy. The wind actually making temperatures feel colder, but in wind protected areas, that's where we're looking at the coldest temperatures, and that's where we're looking at frost as well. 15-mile-an-hour winds in Santa Clarita, 5 in the Apple Valley, 11 in Highland, 12 in Riverside. And you're going to see a high wind warning in effect for the majority of the mountains here in the Southland through 2 o'clock tomorrow afternoon. We've got wind advisories for the coast, also for spots like the Santa Clarita Valley, and most of us expecting pretty windy conditions along with very cold conditions. We're in the 20s, 30s, and 40s right now. 41 Pasadena, 22 Wrightwood, 25 in Lancaster, and no surprise that we're looking at a freeze warning for the interior portions of Ventura County, kicking in overnight, lasting through 9 a.m. Other than that, a frost advisory for the San Gabriel Valley, the San Fernando Valley. That kicks in overnight, lasts through 9 o'clock in the morning. And we also have a wind chill advisory for the mountains. Not only is it cold, but it's windy, and the wind is making temperatures feel 10, even 20 degrees colder in some spots. So just to recap, you're going to see all the advisories and warnings out there, and there we go. There is a chance of a warm-up in the forecast. We'll tell you when in a minute, but you'll see earlier today we made it to 57 in downtown, and you'll see we got down to 34 in downtown. That's still the preliminary low, but doesn't look like we're going to get colder than 34 by midnight, so it'll probably be official pretty soon here. And that's the coldest we've been in downtown for 20 plus years, since 1990. So the record to beat was 36. We beat it by 2 degrees. Temperatures tonight very cold. We're saying 40 for downtown, but it could actually be a little colder at this point. Looks like 35 in Oxnard, 40 in Newport Beach as we head over to Simi Valley, 32, 31 in Riverside. So colder than last night. Big Bear 5 degrees, Apple Valley at 16, and generally temperatures are about 8 degrees below where they should be for this time of year overnight, even colder in some spots. And again, remember, we do have those freeze warnings and frost advisories kicking in overnight, along with those wind warnings and wind advisories as well. The Basin in Orange County, 60s turning to 70s by your Thursday, Friday, and the weekend. Rick and Sharon, back to you.